explain just a little bit about what you do. Who are you and what do you do?
I am Lenwood Long, President and CEO of the African American Alliance of CDFI CEOs, known as AAA. This is an organization of 51 Black-led CDFIs throughout the United States. And one of our core goals is the eradication or the elimination of the closing of the racial wealth gap that exists in this country.
Tell me about when you first learned about CDFIs.
I was working with community economic development credit unions, and some of those credit unions were CDFI credit unions. What captured my appetite and my interest was the fact that I saw people coming into that credit union who had been denied credit, who could not build credit, who had no access to capital, but for this credit union. So it was for this moment of but for this credit union, people who needed simple thing as a car, who needed tuition for college, who needed a down payment for a house because they couldn't go to a bank. It was that look in people's faces that we have some ownership here that really gave me a desire to want to hang in there and to see that, because coming out of the segregated South was for me an opportunity to do something that I couldn't do during the civil rights era, being able to work to make sure capital was accessible for Black people.
Wow, my heart is fluttering hearing that. It's a
Right.
different form of protest, but
Oh, it is. It is. At the height of the civil rights, I was in Vietnam, and then coming home from Vietnam and not being able to walk in the front door of a restaurant, and then to have this transition where I'm able to participate in the liberation opportunity of capital for Black people, for me, was my moment.
now what motivates you to continue doing the work that you do?
It became a part of my DNA because I enjoy helping people. And I must confess that part of that came from my denial of opportunity to have access to capital. And so it's the same parallel I used to use with my children, right? I knew what I went through, and I didn't want them to go through that.
Can you give me a little bit of history on race within the financial industry and also how it applies to CDFI?
I think what unites the industry is the mission itself. And so you take the mission and it's almost race neutral when you look at the mission, right? Where you begin to see the separation is the implementation of the mission. Because of systemic racism, the allocation of the resources have not been the same. And so you've had investors who make financial decisions around where they invest dollars have allowed their investment to be clouded by their own racism. If everything was equal, then there would be no gaps in the balance sheet between white-led CDFIs and black-led CDFIs. Hope Institute has done some research and say that the gap is 6-1. Here's the way I explain it. My counterpart CDFI can go to Chick-fil-A and get a number one. I can get a small fry. I can't afford anything else. I use that analogy sometimes just to say that the difference between enough funds to buy a full meal as opposed to a part of meal shows the under-resourced capacity of many Black-led CDFIs. The communities they serve suffer from the same thing that they have. The underserved are serving the underserved.
Now you are working on something that is poised to help fix that issue in African American Alliance of CDFI CEOs.
It's raising the conscious awareness of we can do better than this. The Alliance, through its policy work, really has played a significant role in raising the awareness of the lack of inclusion. Common voices who saw inequities and say, let's put our voices together and ask for change.
So for minorities and young people kind of looking into community development in general, but also working in CDFI specifically, What opportunities are there?
Many opportunities. One may say, well, I'm in the financial era. I'm not really in helping the people. Good, you have skills. CDFIs, they need accountants, they need attorneys, they need planners, they need business development coaches. If you will take that talent and say, I have this skill set, I have this passion, and I want to put it to work, that I can see measurable impact, measurable results in the lives of people. So you don't have to be in the community to have an impact on the community. Many skill sets, many opportunities, but the end result, somebody is helped by your effort.